Joey Diaz is funny, very popular, and loved by many people.
Like, we would all line up the back of the room when Joey Diaz was lighted on fire.
He is a true comedian.
And I just wanted to be a regular comedian.
At times, he even uses his platform to inspire others.
Only you can fucking help you. Grab your fucking balls, get a fucking notebook, and write down what the fuck you're gonna do this year.
But there is a dark side to Joey Diaz that you haven't heard much about.
She says he broke her, and he thinks that's fucking funny.
The word's gonna get out.
Right.
The word's gonna get out that this is a big problem, man.
So, in this video, I will shed light on the sinister history of Joey Diaz and uncover not only his wild life as a criminal and the crazy stories he has from his time in jail, but also the many things Joey Diaz has done that you didn't know of.
Hey man, I'm gonna need an ounce of coke for Friday. Boom, I got my pigeon for the day. Let's get this motherfucker started.
Joey Diaz's early life was as raw and unforgiving as the New Jersey streets he grew up on. And being honest, I'm surprised he made it past 19. He lost his father when he was just 3 years old and first dealt drugs before age 10.
Let's say the glue was 25 cents in those days, just a tube.
Yeah.
Nobody would sell him glue. So I told my mom, let me borrow 20. I'm gonna buy a case of glue and pimp this bitch out.
So that's your first mark?
That's my first mark. I started hitting.
How old are you? You're 5 years old?
Sticky Charlie, 6, 7.
Wow.
I'm selling glue to Sticky fucking Charlie.
He then started off committing pretty minor crimes.
I used to work at a lumber yard.
They don't clean up every day?
And when I got the job, the kid that had the job before me, he told me right off the bat, he goes, listen, number one, you got to steal. Because if you don't steal, they're going to know I was stealing. And number two, I have existing contracts.
Are you kidding me?
And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, on Saturdays, a guy comes in and buys 40 sheets of plywood. He'll give you $400 cash. Give me 100 from now on.
But after losing his mother at age 15, Joey quickly found himself deeply entangled in a life of crime as a way to survive.
I had no job. I had no parents.
So there's nobody to disappoint?
Nobody to disappoint. I had nothing to lose.
His teenage years were a combination of many different robberies, both money and drug motivated.
Broke into a cheese shop one night. I was at a bar. I was 19 years old, guys. I still had the bug. In those days, you know how some people drink and do stupid things?
Of course.
I would drink and steal. I went in, put the light on. I took everything I could. I put it in a circle, including a mattress and a fucking box spring. And I made 3 or 4 climbs. Today, I could never do it.
No.
And I did it between 9 and like 2 in the morning.
Wow.
With fucking wheelbarrows. And then he finally got up. He was drunk. He finally got up and he helped me carry like
And
2
nobody
loads.
woke up? None of that shit?
Nothing. There was nobody in the building. When again, I go into the fucking front door, lock the door, the lights are out. I go in the back, but again, it's snowing out. So I get to the back door and I slide open the sliding door and I fucking go to the back and boom, there's the blow. I see the lights pull up. I close the door, boom, boom. I lock the front door. I go to the fucking back. As I'm running out, boom, I left the screen door up, the one with the flies, so the flies won't come in. And I landed right in the fucking grass. And I just closed the sliding door and they were right there. And I fucking ran. It wasn't fresh snow, thank God. That's what saved me.
Yeah.
It was old snow, so I didn't leave. I just ran. I ran into like the water. I ran across and I went to the Crestwood where I used to work. And I saw my friend Carl and I gave him the coke and I changed shirts. And then he gave me a ride to my house like nothing happened.
Unsurprisingly, with Joey's great stealing experience, he was very good at acting innocent.
And the next day there was chitter-chatter. Somebody around my house, 8 ounces of blow.
That's terrible. Did you help him look for it?
Oh yeah, you should have seen me out there putting out posters and
Yeah,
stuff.
your dog with you.
It was fucking crazy, Lee. I was 19 years old, Lee.
Despite these crazy stories, Joey's teenage years were just the beginning. His thefts, drug deals, and other various hustles grew much wilder over time.
Those days, like if you fucked with me, like weird, like if you told me you had good weed, and I showed up and I told my friends and it was shit weed, we'd just rob you like a year later.
Yeah.
Just for being a fucking jerk off, we'd just rob you. This guy did something stupid to me.
Sure.
And I went to his house. It was the funniest thing. He had a Social Security check, like a tax return in the mail. And I fucking took it because I had a banker who would cash those checks in those days. He'd tell me, bring me anything. For 10%, I'll cash anything. So I took his check and I took a brand new car stereo in a box he had in his apartment, like an 8-ball. A friend of mine, I bumped into him in Manhattan one day and he goes, can you move credit cards? I'm like, what do you mean move them? Because I don't use them. I go, I'll do it.
Yeah.
There's no ID, but just go to places that you know. Let
Right.
the people know. So if you go to a restaurant, Lee, come here. It's a stolen credit card.
Right.
So
Charge
it, and I'll give you $100 tip.
Right.
And you make 100. Who gives a
Yeah,
fuck?
yeah.
Get yourself a buffet to go.
Right.
You're the waiter. So I cut the deal with you. You're my friend. I grew up with you. You're not going to get in trouble. You didn't know
I
nothing.
didn't know. I didn't
You don't know
know.
nothing. He had no stolen.
I know.
So I would go to places that you worked, Lee. And we'd run up a tab, and then I'd say, give yourself a $300 tip and give me 100.
Yeah. I know. You got to do it.
You have no idea, Lee.
Yeah.
Even with this crazy life, Joey still did something his parents would have been proud of.
Here I had no GED. I just quit school my senior year, right? And somebody goes, go to Colorado Mountain College and take some classes. So I go, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go up there and I took 12 credits, like 6 credits my first semester. Then I would take 6 credits, 6 credits, 6 credits. Even though I was fucking stealing coke, doing coke, skiing, I still took those fucking...
But he was too deep in the criminal world to stop entirely.
I robbed the whole fucking mall because before
He
I
didn't
left...
say he was good. He said he was cool.
Before I left Jersey in '85, I was in the city a lot. I was working in the city as a bartender, and I met these dudes that knew how to get IDs up in the Bronx, right? Okay. So I would go up there with them to buy IDs for friends of mine. And then one day the guy goes, listen, for an extra $500, we'll give you a credit card,
Oh, forget
an
it.
insurance card for your car.
Of course, Joey would never pass by this opportunity without profiting from it.
And I'm like, bro, let's do it.
Line it up.
So the guy would tell me how they do it. Whenever the card got made at the bank, okay, this is how we stole credit cards. This is how fucking deep it was. Let's say they made a card for Andrew Schultz. They made 2 cards for Andrew Schultz.
Yeah, they did.
One went to Andrew and one went to me.
So you were the connect to the bank?
Wow.
With your name on the fucking card.
On every card.
And I knew everything you did. They would tell me.
Joey seemed to naturally default to committing crimes wherever he was, even if he tried to live an honest life.
So I apply at this fucking Foot Locker and they hire me. And after a month, I'm like the top salesman. I could do that shit with my eyes closed. But a Chinese family came in one day to buy sneakers for the whole family, and I noticed I had a yellow envelope on the side of his wallet, and it fell. So I picked it up and went in the back. There was like $3 grand cash in there. Wow. I go, what do I do? Do I give it back to the family? I go, fuck no, I'm snorting coke tonight. You snooze, you lose. Bro, these people wouldn't leave it alone. That somebody robbed them. Nobody robbed them, they dropped it. And they called the cops. When the cops came in, the one cop looked at me and goes, somebody's been using a credit card in here, and you fit the description.
This was a scary time for Joey because he could have landed up to 10 years in jail.
And then he came back 3 days later, and he goes, hey, is there something you want to tell me? And I'm like, no. And he came back like a week later, and he's like, listen, man, we're getting the sizes of the clothes together and everything. We're going to come and arrest you. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So this went on. This went on for about 2 weeks, and then I said, fuck this. I'm going to San Francisco anyway. I want to go hang out with a buddy of mine in San Francisco. So I had met this girl. So I leave. I never got charged for the credit card.
Joey got away with this one, but what he did next was even riskier.
A year later, after the credit card thing,
You on the up and up?
No, I was never on the up and up. I get involved in the kidnapping.
I'm sure you've heard of the kidnapping story, but did you know?
Warrant gets put out, they're looking for me.
Can you give us some details
Hold
about
on.
the kidnapping?
I wait the 3 days, I turn myself in. Who was the cop interviewing me?
Oh, shit.
It's the credit card cop, but he was too stupid, he didn't remember me.
Get the fuck out of
He
here.
just kept looking at me weird, like. So now, after I got arrested, I had to go to court and sit next to this motherfucker, and he would look at me, and I kept saying, when is this motherfucker gonna realize I was the one that used the fucking credit card?
Joey managed to get away with his credit card theft, but he was caught for his infamous involvement in the kidnapping of a drug thief.
In 1987, I was 27 years old, whatever. I was working in Boulder. I was going to school at night, and I was snorting coke with 3 hands. You know? And I fucking got involved with some kid, and he was going to rob his roommate, and ended up robbing them, both of them. And then the guy that I had as a partner was going to rob me. What a tangle web we weave when we tangle to deceive. And it just so happens that
The guy got caught. Like I told him the guy didn't want nothing to do with it, even though I had the coke with me.
Joey Diaz finally got caught for all the crimes, havoc, and terror he caused over the years. But he didn't go down for it straight away.
And on bail for second-degree kidnapping, second-degree assault, you know. I got the works thrown at me. And I'm fucking going into Sears every day and clipping 10 Bruce Springsteen double set CDs, Born in the USA. They're going for $80, whatever they were going for, $40. I'm getting 22 a piece. I'm taking 2 a day. I'm walking with the small 220. I got 100 for coke, 50 for weed, and 50 for lunch. That was it. I still remember like doing this for a month.
This didn't last long though, because Joey got sentenced to 4 years in prison for his kidnapping of the coke thief. However, what Joey witnessed and did in jail was arguably even crazier than what he saw and was doing on the streets.
Bro, there's more drugs on the inside than there was on the outside.
And this wasn't a problem for Joey.
This was a minimum security camp. We had contact visits. When you have a contact visit, there's parties every night. You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers, that's the first time I did it. No, I was like the second time I did heroin was in prison. And I couldn't do a needle. So the Mexicans took a Mexican thing of heroin, melted it. I had to put like a funnel in my nose made out of paper and they dripped it in my nose. And I got up, I had like candle wick burning out of my nose. What the fuck is this?
Even though Joey remembers jail and how fun it was, he had bad times in there too.
So they put me in the kitchen. The fucking dude was big, Mr. Yarborough. Big brother, fucking out of the Navy, Korean Navy guy. And he's like, Mr. Diaz, you look Italian, so I'm gonna make you a baker. Have you ever baked before? And I'm like, nah, I don't fucking even cook. So I went in there the next morning at 4 a.m. and he's like, you put this much on the thing and then they expand. I'm like, why are you being so cheap, brother? These motherfuckers are living in cells. Give them a big fucking cinnamon muffin. I mean, I didn't know. He's like, you can't make them big. I didn't know why. So I made them big, and they became fucking manhole covers. The oven almost blew up. There was a fire. So he fired me.
Despite this major setback for Joey, it allowed his inner criminal to be reborn.
He made me the stock clerk, which is the best job there. I didn't even know.
What's stock clerk?
It's a stock clerk. You order the food for the kitchen, and you have your own facility to hide shit for the other invics because it's so far away, they don't bring the dogs to sniff that shit. And I had a driver's license. So you see those guys that pick papers up on the side of the road? I would bring them lunch in the cart. So I could always go, you gonna be here tomorrow? Yeah, I could always go, Andrew Schultz, have your girlfriend drop off an ounce of coke at garbage stop number 54. You're gonna pick it up and put it in the garbage. I'm gonna come by to give you lunch. You're gonna give it to me.
Since Joey was breaking the law again, he went back to enjoying drugs frequently.
When the only thing I was doing there was acid because they couldn't test for it.
Acid in prison?
Yeah, you get nice blotter acid in prison. I get fucked up every Sunday night. Me and some other guys, we'd sit outside and talk shit.
Unsurprisingly, once Joey established himself, he was centered in nearly all the drug trades.
At lunchtime, I was allowed to go to the store for 15 minutes. I worked it out where I had to drive to take garbage out, so I would go to the store for 15 minutes. Not only that, I would call in my order at the Chinese restaurant, so it would be ready by the time I got there. So I would go back to the prison with Chinese food and groceries. That's how strong I was in there. Plus, dog, I didn't fuck around in there. Plus, they were doing steroids and selling drugs.
In prison?
Please, like a motherfucker. So I was in the stockroom clerk, so they had to pay me rent. So because they never inspected
So you
the
stocked the
I would
roids.
say to you, yeah, I'll hold your roids, but you gotta give me you gotta give me $3.
This gave him a lot of money, so it was easy for him to become the kingpin.
When I got to the halfway house, it was even better because I started loaning money out to the Invics. As a loan shark.
The Invics?
Yeah, because they want to go out, but if your rent's not paid on Thursday, you're not allowed for the weekend. So the rent would be $65, so I give them $65 for 92. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to give you $65, but you got to give me 92 tomorrow. And I had 10 guys on that row. Bro, I was a fucking machine in there.
Being a boss in jail had its advantages, but this meant Joey would have to prove himself constantly.
He used to fuck with me. He worked in the kitchen. So instead of me beating him up, I was a stock clerk in the kitchen there, and they used to have that welfare American cheese. So one day I took the cheese out of there and I took a shit in that motherfucking box. And I put a little American flag on the top and I put the box and I put it in this drawer and put the clothes on top of it. And he would always go, anybody else smell shit in my room? I'm gonna find it. And then one day he actually found the box. When I took the shit, it was like 19 inches. When he found it, it was like 3 inches. It was like a skeleton.
It burned off.
It burned off and that room smelled like death. He was breathing that shit in too. I feel bad. He's not alive today. That's worse than that 9/11 dust. Breathing my shit. That motherfucker's eligible for fucking payments and shit.
This was a subtle way to deal with the guy who kept bothering Joey, but as time passed, Joey would have to prove himself again.
He knew I'd put the shit in the thing.
Yeah.
And he would always give me grief when he was in front of his friends.
Sure.
When I was with my friends, he wouldn't say nothing.
But
So there was a room where we would play cards in.
Yeah.
It was a combination laundry room. And one day I gotta say something to this guy. Because he was always tough when he was around his buddies. So I saw him one Saturday go into the thing to do his laundry. He had long hair like you. That's why I don't wear long hair. And he was doing laundry. I tapped him when he turned around. I grabbed both sides of the long hair, cut my hands, and banged his head off the fucking wall 15 fucking times. And then I punched him really hard. Now I went to my friends and told them what had happened. And I go, they're gonna retaliate. He never said a word.
Joey also met many people who could match his great sense of humor and make their wild criminal stories sound funny.
And then I had this one crazy black guy. This guy was Anton Spencer. His name was Spencer Antoine from New Orleans. And he was crazy. And he told me that he was in there for 8 years for involuntary manslaughter. And he was my mentor. That was my dog, Jack. He was fucking nuts. And he would tell me about, like one day some guy nailed him $2. And he comes in the kitchen. He goes, did you see that guy? And I go, no, I think he's packing and leaving. This motherfucker went and got a knife. He got him at the gate. The guy was getting out of jail. He's like, motherfucker, you better give me my $2. I was blown away.
This guy was telling us a story. How he murdered the guy he was in prison for. And we were in tears on the floor howling. That's how funny he was.
Joey's time in jail was insane and sounded like a sequel to his previous life of crime on the streets. It was actually the place that formed him into the man we know him as today.
I became a stand-up comic. I learned how to do stand-up comedy
In prison.
On Thursdays,
What?
they used to have movie night.
I didn't even know that.
Dog, they used to have movie night on Thursday night. So the projector would always fuck up, like Ustream. It would always fuck up.
Joey, talking to the microphone.
It would always fuck up. So on Thursdays, the people just jokingly, I would always go, what the fuck is wrong with the projector? And everybody would say, Cuba, get up there and talk.
Out of jail, Joey Diaz didn't completely end his life of crime, but he did do something very smart.
Why, whenever I got in trouble, I wrote a letter to the judge. When I got out of prison, I wrote a letter to that judge every month. Wow. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm detailing cars. I'm still broke. I'm still an idiot, but I'm giving it a try. You know, I just got into comedy. I wrote him letters. I got into stand-up comedy. I suck, but I'm gonna try it. And then I went up in front of him 10 years later for something else, and he fucking went in my direction because I had kept in touch with him. He knew the truth.
Built a relationship.
I built a relationship with the guy.
This allowed Joey to stay out of serious trouble while trying to make it as a stand-up comic. In Joey's mind, he now had a clean slate and could start life all over again, allowing him to pursue a relaxed criminal lifestyle and comedy. However, in 2020, allegations that were much more serious than anything Joey had faced before put his freedom at an even greater risk when his since-deleted Joe Rogan podcast from 2010 resurfaced.
And one of the things that Allison was talking about is how this guy wanted her to pay $100 in order to do 5 minutes in the belly room. And she was going to do that because she thought that's what you had to do to be an open mic comic.
$100?
Yes,
really?
This guy was scamming her. Found out that during that episode of the Salvia video, found out this is the same guy, the joke thief guy that was scamming her out of money and other open comics out of money.
She's lucky she paid $100. I had girls sucking my dick and giving me coke from Chewy. You think I'm fucking kidding you? Fuck yeah, you gotta suck my dick to get up in the belly room. I'll make a call for you. That's the fucking gateway into coming to Hollywood. Everybody knows that.
How many girls did you have do that?
Oh, 20 of them.
If Joey had stopped here, it would not have been as bad. However, he continued to his own demise.
Yeah. I had this little blonde open mic chick dog that used to come up to the comedy store with a 20 and just take me up to the belly room and suck my dick, then go do a set. She was tremendous.
Wow.
She finally freaked out. When she got to Hollywood, bro, she was beautiful. And when she left, she had dirty fucking, her nails were dirty. And then a year later, she wrote me a letter to the comedy store. You cocksucker, you broke me. I kept shooting sperm balls in her fucking earball. Every time she went down, vaya pa la pinga!
And as you can imagine, this led to outrage.
Both Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan were laughing at this. And Diaz said that the women wrote him a letter that said, You broke me. That was the fucking hardest part about him laughing about that. Rogan asked him, how many girls did you have do that? And Diaz said he had about 20 women doing this. And then he was laughing and clapping and like, all right. Let's just take a second to say, fucking you.
Articles began to get released slandering both Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan. The Daily Beast said, comedians Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz laugh about sexual assault in resurfaced clip. And The Independent said a video of Joe Rogan laughing as guest describes sexually exploiting young women at comedy club resurfaces. Fortunately for Joey, the articles were mainly aimed at Joe Rogan because it was said on his podcast. However, Joey Diaz made a wise decision and spoke on the topic in an attempt to clear his name.
First of all, thank you for all the overwhelming support and the love. I ain't no angel, but I ain't no fucking saint either, whatever. But you guys know where my heart is at all times and whatnot. Well, let's get down to business here. Number one, I want to thank the ladies of comedy who are taking a stand. I am not mad at you at all. It's gotten out of control. You guys have heard different things, so I cannot be mad at you. I encourage you to keep on your stand. You calling people that I've taken on the road to find out dirt, whether I do drugs or whatever, that I don't understand. The calls from the other little comics that are calling around and torturing women that I've known personally, that I don't understand. Listen, you're on a podcast. You're talking shit. You're in the fucking heat of the moment. Nobody knows until you're in a podcast and you're trying to be funny. That podcast was taped in 2010 before we knew podcasts were going to go anywhere.
He also mentioned another crazy story from his dark history in his explanation.
When I got into podcasting, what happened was we went on there. We thought it was radio. And one day I told the story about mugging a hooker and lighting her wig on fire. And next thing you know, I got a rise. I got a reaction. I got a reaction because I was telling the truth about something.
Luckily for Joey, there was never a legal issue raised from this. Instead, just a PR disaster. It is shocking to hear something like this about someone seemingly so happy and cheerful. At times, Joey looks back and realizes just how far he's come.
I used to break into a friend's house to sleep in his house at night. I slept in a rocket ship for a month outside at a park. You ever go to a park and see those rocket ships and your kids play on them? I still remember going up to the third floor of the rocket ship, finishing off my coke and jerking off on the third floor at 5 in the morning outside in a fucking park with leaves around me and shit.
It's an inspiring story, showing that you can get your life together no matter how many bad things life throws at you. But Joey Diaz isn't the only comic to have made a monumental comeback like this. And luckily for you, we made a video on another comedian's great comeback, so click here to watch.